A proposed California bill would require insurance companies to keep parents in the dark when kids get abortions or transgender procedures at school. Gee, an alliance between politicians and insurance companies to disenfranchise parents? And what genius was it who said that Obamacare was dead? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we're discussing Idaho, which has become the first state in the nation to protect women's sports from transgender athletes. Big hats off to you, Idaho. There's a lot more going on there than potatoes. Plus, a private Jesuit college in New York officially bans emails that might insult or embarrass people, like the one you sent out to make that rule. Thank you, snowflakes. And we jump into some real education with Stephen Crane's instant classic epigram, "A Man Said to the Universe." But we start with a newly proposed California bill that would hide student abortions and transgender procedures from parents. Yep, this bill has not been passed yet. It's been introduced. It is the logical next step in the California state absolute subordination of parents' rights. And this is how they're doing this. We said this is how they're coming after homeschooling, too. Rather than focusing on families or parents, this is the new students' rights movement. Students have an absolute right, the liberals say, to a public school education, which means we must outlaw homeschooling. And students, however young, have the right to be taught about sex, have the right to be handed birth control, have the right to be given abortions, have the right to change gender no matter what age they are, whenever they want to, and parents don't even have to know. We'll do it for them, right?
And so what this bill specifically is looking at is you would actually be holding the health insurance companies criminally liable if they would disclose this medical information of, this teenager had an abortion. If you gave that information to the parents or the guardians of
who are paying for it.
Yeah, just walked on it. Yeah, the ones who are actually providing the coverage, who are paying for this coverage, the insurance companies now are going to get attacked for it. So, of course, then the health insurance companies are going to go with the lawmakers and be all hunky-dory with it.
I mean, think about this. So the insurance company, your mom and dad work hard. They're paying their insurance.
Yep.
Your kid gets an abortion that is the insurance company is forced to cover. Or your kid gets transgender hormones that the insurance is forced to pay for. And you get a bill, right, for this. Or you get your bill for your share of it.
Take a look at it.
And you can't be told what it's for.
Nope. And if you do, then the health insurance company is going to
have to pay that, right? I'll tell you what's going to end up happening, because that's an utterly unwinnable situation, is that the insurance companies will eat the money. That's how the state government of California is going to twist their arm, right? Either that, or what choice do you have? I mean, don't think this is just going to be a matter of if the insurance company tells the parents what's going on, you will have to cover the cost. How do you tell parents it's a charge we can't talk to you about? What parents will be all over the Better Business Bureau. There's just no way this is workable. So you're going to watch what California is doing is subtly forcing insurance companies. If you want to do business in California, you will cover kids' costs without even sending a bill. Right?
And this is just what California subtly does in everything.
That's right.
And that's why you need to always, parents across the country need to take a look at everything happening in the California legislature, because it's coming to a state near you. This specific bill is SB 1004, so 1004. It's called the Confidentiality of Medical Information Act. Okay, sounds right. But it does include drug abuse and mental health treatments, abortions, and experimental gender transition hormones and related surgical procedures. So parents need to take a look at this. They had a fact sheet that was released by Democratic State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson of Santa Barbara, and the claim is that the legislation is necessary to protect young adults who remain on their parents' health insurance until age 26 from being shamed or hurt by the policyholder who disagrees with their health care choices. How about if you're an adult, you go get your own health care then?
Right. But see, they're not adults until they're 27.
That's 27.
And I love that. It's the policyholder who's doing them wrong. Not mom, not dad. It's the how dare the policyholder, the one who pays all the money, how dare they even be informed by this? Well, to the surprise of nobody, Many religious groups have already advocated against this. The religious advocacy group Catholic Citizens of Illinois have raised concerns, saying this bill, quote, this bill not only hides the medical service used by young adults from their parents, but it also hides services for a, quote, minor who can consent to a health care service without the consent of a parent or legal guardian. So you could literally, even though you're covered under the policy, you are not the policyholder, you can get procedures without letting them know and forcing parents to pay for it. I like this quote, right? California Family President Jonathan Keller said in a statement to the Christian Post, I quote, government bureaucrats should not be helping Planned Parenthood undermine parents' rights to guide and to oversee the health care of their children. And that's the key. Who's going to step into the void? Who will be the middleman between these poor transgenders kids and their surgery? Organizations like Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood. Okay. I was worried. Worried there wouldn't be some sort of middleman, or can we not say middleman? It's probably sexist.
Middle, yes, that is.
The quote goes on, transparency matters.
Yes.
The owner of an insurance policy deserves to know what medical procedures they are paying for. If an adult under 26, remember, if an adult under 26 wants insurance privacy, they can and should purchase their own insurance. I agree with.
And as you said, under the new bill, insurers would be held criminally liable if they informed parents or guardians that their insurance policies were paying for any of these procedures for their children. SB 1004 has not yet been assigned to a Senate committee for a hearing and won't be assigned a hearing until the Senate terms in May. But I don't see what's going to stop the supermajority of wackadoodle liberals. There's almost nothing that's going to stop this.
No, it's really not.
I'd like to see a revolt of the insurance companies. That might be nice.
We'll have to see on that one. Well, let's head a little bit east, a little bit north to Idaho. Idaho is the first state to protect women's sports from trans participants. The fact that we have to even do this story, women's sports should be women, men's sports should be men, but we finally at least have one state out there who is going to protect women's sports, even if right now, obviously, we have no sports because Corona. Well, Idaho Governor Brad Little signed a bill into law at the end of March banning males from competing in female sports. The Fairness in Women's Sports, HB 500, states that males who claim to be female cannot participate on girls' and women's athletic teams in public K-12 schools, colleges, and universities.
That is awesome. How soon before the NCAA tells Idaho, right, you will not be allowed to play in any tournaments, your football teams will not be able to go to bowl games. This is what they did in North Carolina. Remember the transgender bathroom?
Yep.
You watch that aspect of it because all over this will be the NCAA. And they'll say, well, since your governor won't let trans athletes play on these college sports teams, we're going to do to you what we're going to do to North Carolina. The state of Idaho will not be able to hold any bowl games. They will not be able to host any playoff games. You watch what's coming with this. It is the right thing to do. Look, you're giving boys, actual biological boys who have obvious biological advantages, you're letting them play along women who don't. This would be the equivalent if you were giving scholarships for menstruation. Let's say you were giving scholarship for women to menstruate, right? And then a bunch of men who think they're women wanted to be able to menstruate as well, right? And when you said, no, we're going to keep you out of menstruation, the lawsuits begin. It literally is that stupid to have this going on. If you're really this hell-bent on this, and I hate to be the separate but equal guy, if you really think this matters, why wouldn't you consider trans games? Right? Why wouldn't you? I mean, let trans people compete against trans. Because boys get to compete against boys, girls compete against girls, which is the way it ought to be. And then how much money we're going to spend now on the trans Olympics or whatever you want to call it. You could call it, just have a whole bunch of trans games.
The uniforms are going to be brightly colored.
Well, and very
nice.
Androgynous.
It would be. Well, of course,
it's
the
just
lefties.
Beginning.
Yeah, the lefties though on Twitter just went mad. Before I get to that though, just note that the governor also signed HB 509, which prohibits changes in gender on birth certificates.
Yep.
And that one also set them off. So Planned Parenthood said the governor discriminated against thousands of Idahoans You're an Idahoan, I guess, from Idaho.
Better to discriminate against a handful of Idahoans than
Thousands.
the entire female sex.
I didn't even know thousands
gender,
of people even lived in Idaho, but
let alone thousands of trans.
Exactly. In Planned Parenthood called Idaho one of the cruelest states in the country for LGBTQ people, especially transgender people. And then Laverne Cox, who is a trans actress, said on Twitter, "This is disappointing and heartbreaking for the trans folks and our allies in Idaho."
Yeah, and this is pathetic. Notice that the with the new the cartel, let's call it the queer cartel, right? Their tactics are very similar. Lesbians are fine, gays are fine, but because transgenders aren't catered to. And by the way, I asked this too. If you're a lesbian woman, right, who is working really hard in women's sports.
Yeah.
Now, why does this guy come along in basically a wig and falsies and get to and run all over you in your competition? But no, this is how the queer cartel works. You will all knuckle under. And so what do you tell the lesbian? Because there are many of them. Or what do you tell the woman who's an ally of the LGBTQ? She's got to just suck it up and take it when all her hard work is overrun by boys pretending to be girls. You do is you tell the girl, shut up and get over it, right?
Yeah, well, and that's why, like, women's rights groups, where are they?
That's right.
They're silent.
They should be every bit as activists, but they won't be, right?
No.
Because this is a way of coming after what's perceived to be a red state, right? And forcing change. So the women's groups will not buck this trend here. They will. Some women will speak out about it in high places, but you can guarantee that the feminist organizations aren't going to say a word about this.
They will not #MeToo.
They ought to, because if they did, if the feminist groups stood up for actual females, this would be defeated in court.
It would. Well, we're going to go from then Twitter ranting to emails that may insult or embarrass people because they're not allowed if you go to Fordham University, which is a private Jesuit school in New York. They don't like free speech much. And
they're Jesuits. What do you expect?
The Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, FIRE, we've talked about them before, they basically made Fordham their example this month for their speech code of the month. They pick every month a different university. Well, Fordham is the one this month. And under Fordham's Statement of Prohibited Uses, under their Information Technology Usage Policy, they found that prohibited is using any IT resource or communication services, including email or other means, to intimidate, insult, embarrass, or harass others, to interfere unreasonably with an individual's work, research, or educational performance, or to create a hostile or offensive working or learning environment.
And yet, what does it make me believe without a shadow of a doubt that if you were to invite Ben Shapiro to Fordham, that the university suddenly, we don't want to interfere with free speech, they'd be all over that. And how much do you want to bet at a Jesuit university that being dramatically pro-life in your email responses on campus would violate this, even though the church's position, right? So this is one more way. And the thing about these speech codes is that they don't cut both ways. You are not protecting conservative speech. Again, try to be a rabid pro-lifer using these systems and watch how much freedom you have. Or if the progressive left on campus wants to attack you for being pro-life, or wants to attack you for being a capitalist, or wants to attack you because you invited Ben Shapiro to campus. Somehow, because we've seen it in every other state, it doesn't cut, and particularly at these Catholic schools, it doesn't cut both ways. You can say anything nasty you want about the Catholic Church, and there's a lot that can be said. That's protected. But to stand up for Catholic positions, that's a big no-no.
And FIRE gives different ratings to every university across the nation. So if you want to look up the university you went to or one nearby you, they give them by red light, yellow light, and green light. And Fordham has been given the red light because of this policy, but they also have been given yellow lights for other things. And that rating is meaning that they're so ambiguous, their speech codes, so ambiguous or vague that they can be used to stifle the speech. And most universities across the nation are in that yellow or even red area. There aren't as many green ones, and everyone should be green.
Shame on you. St. Ignatius is rolling over in his grave. What you in Georgetown and a lot of these juvenile Jesuit institutions, so-called Jesuit institutions are doing, it is a complete and utter violation of everything that Ignatius would have stood for, and certainly what a long and robust history of Catholic moral teaching would prescribe. It's just shameful.
Well, I've had enough for today, so now I would like some real education. Stephen Crane is a man of few words. He really only needed, though, several to make a point. So Crane was an American writer of poetry, novels, and short stories at the end of the 19th century. In just a very short span of time, Crane produced many works, including, you may know him from The Red Badge of Courage, which was published in 1895, and that was just 5 years before he actually died at the age of 28 due to tuberculosis. But we're going to talk about something even shorter than The Red Badge of Courage, A Man Said to the Universe.
Yeah, Stephen Crane, you probably know him if you know him at all. You know him from The Red Badge of Courage, a remarkable novel. And you said he was a man of few words. He's actually a man of many words. For somebody who had died at that young age, he had written a lot. But among the other things he had written besides his novels, and by the way, some of the most heartrending short stories. Try to read The Open Boat sometime about a group of characters stranded on the sea and what that meant. Very existential. And read Maggie, A Girl of the Streets, my personal favorite Stephen Crane story. It's a short novella about what it's like to grow up in the ghetto, basically, in Chicago. I believe it was Chicago or New York, and what happens there. It's basically social. Crane is explaining social Darwinism, how human life is really no better than animal life. It's very sobering. But among the things that Crane did write were some short, pithy little anecdotes. We call them epigrams, right? And one of my favorite epigrams from Stephen Crane is this one. And by the way, an epigram is a short, pithy statement of gnomic wisdom, right? Some kind of, like Ben Franklin spoke in epigrams, right? Give us a famous Ben Franklin epigram.
A penny saved is a penny earned.
And you see my illustration there, right? Short, very gnomic, pithy, and carries a little moral lesson. So here is A Man Said to the Universe by Stephen Crane. A man said to the universe, "Sir, I exist." "However," replied the universe, "the fact has not created in me a sense of obligation." I love this one. Basically, Crane is pointing out to you, despite all the hippies running around telling you that Mother Earth is Gaia and she's our mom, and how about the idiots out there like Spike Lee and half a dozen actresses? The coronavirus is Mother Nature being mad at us. The virus, see, we've angered Mother Earth. Mom is angry with us. Unfettered garbage, right? Pagan, earth-worshipping garbage. Crane dismantles it, right? Can you imagine some cocky young kid? A man shook his fist at the universe and said, "I exist!" "Yeah, but I owe you nothing." I make this point to my students all the time. If Mother Nature, and notice, these are kids who adamantly believe there's no such thing as God, that it's childish and mythologically foolish to believe in anything beyond materialism, who are yet romantically in love with the Earth Mother. You want to watch college professors engaging in full-on paganism? Type in ecosexuality, where you literally have feminist and primarily lesbian professors having sex with the Earth and tree. I'm not going to show it, not going to tell you how to do it. But that's a consequence of this. And what Stephen Crane says is powerful. A man shook his fist at the universe and said, "I exist, sir. However," replied the universe, "that fact has not created in me a sense of obligation." There's a reason. Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory said this. And another one, another young genius who said, "If outside is so great, why have we spent 10,000 years making inside better? You don't have the fur to survive like animals do. You don't have the claws. You don't have the teeth. You don't run as fast. You don't like animals do, right? You are not made to live in nature. Nature is something we move out of. And I get it. You can live there for a week. You can go out camping for 3 weeks. But most of us aren't Survivor Man, right? And the very fact that the only way you live in nature when you take away civilization is to barely survive tells you that Stephen Crane is right. Reject the new age paganism of the entire cult of the environment, right? A man shook his fist at the universe and said, "Hey, pay attention to me, I'm somebody." Nature doesn't give a rip who you are. People die every day, and she doesn't give the slightest tear for you. Seek God beyond nature, not in it. Now, Crane was no Christian, but here's where the Christians and the naturalists stand firm together, right? You can get rid of God all you want, but the idea that you're going to deify or personify some aspect of nature and worship that's mythological childishness.
And that's going to do it for another week of you being stuck in your home. Maybe you'll go out in nature this week and get some fresh air, but nature won't care. For those of you with kids, just a reminder that Freedom Project Media is releasing 2 daily animated education videos on our Facebook page. We highlight a new American president every day at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and one of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence at 2 p.m. So gather the kids, do a little homeschooling with Freedom Project.
And just a quick reminder, Freedom Project Academy's Judeo-Christian Online Classical School is enrolling. Our kids are still in classes. Here it is, late April, getting to be late April. We have not missed a single class because of disease, sickness, school shooting, or anything else, or teacher protests. Consider us for the fall. We don't know what's going to happen in the fall, but if you want your kids to get a good classical education and get it from the safety and security of home, then consider Freedom Project. Get your free packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedomforschool.com. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke, and she's Katie. Until next time, shake your fist at nature, but get on your knees to talk to God.